Okay, this is typical of Wells. What he does, he gives you, problems. As the problems go up in level, they're not the same stuff over and over again, although there are some similarities between the problems, but they tend to not be so simple that you look at them and say, gee whiz, you could do this if you were dead. Um, this is a difficult problem, and when I'm reading it, there's a lot of information given to me, although it's a short story. But I should focus on what the question is. And it says a fox is pursued by a hound. Um, and again, it has a start of 77 round leaps. The fox makes 5 leaps while the hound makes 4. And I'm not memorizing what I read, by the way. I'm just simply reading it. But the hound in 5 leaps goes as far as the fox in 9. How many leaps does each make before the hound catches the fox? So I got troubles right now, and one is my troubles in reading the problem. I realize there's a lot going on. But I do know what they're asking for, and they're asking for this. How many leaps does each make before the hound catches the fox? So I'm going to say the hound makes Y leaps. I'll write this over here. And I got to write this down. So Y, whoops, I got to get my pen out. So I'm going to say Y is the number of leaps the hound makes. You know, 1 leap, 2 leap, 3 leap, 4 leap. Clearly the fox is ahead, right? But it appears that the hound is faster and catches up to him. And then I'm going to say X equals the number of leaps the fox makes. But I want to point out the fox does have a head start. But what I don't know is I don't know what the leap is. So what I'm going to do is I need more letters in the problem now. It's just not X and Y. I wish it were. But there's certainly other unknowns in the problem. But I may not be interested in those unknowns. And what are the unknowns over here? What's the leap length for a fox? So I'm going to say over here, F is, the distance of a leap. So I'm going to say a fox's leap. So, an F could be, like 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet. I'm just not sure. And H would be the hound's leap. So what I could do now is I could write down a relationship between these letters here. And some of the relationships are pretty simple to write down, actually. Like I know the fox and hound eventually catch up. There's a capture here. So the fox gets a 77 leap head start, which means 77 F. And then, it has a head start. It continues. And what does it continue? Well, it's allowed to make X more leaps, so that would be F times X. But that's the end of the story. And why is that? The hound catches the fox. So how far did the fox go? Well, if there's a capture, this is how far the fox went. And his life is over at that point. How far did the hound go, though? H times Y. That's the hound's leap times the number of leap. So I got something pretty simple here. I got a relationship between F, X, H, and Y. But I want to point out all I really need to know are these 2 things over here. So I'm really not interested in F and H. Now, it may be more difficult to answer, but right now I'm going to focus on what they're asking for. But I haven't finished reading the story. And I want to point out, another part of the story says that, 5 leaps from the hound is equivalent to 9 leaps from the fox. So I'm going to write that down now. So 5 leaps from the hound is equivalent to 9 leaps from the fox. All right? Now the next thing they're telling me, a little more difficult to understand, by the way, the fox makes 5 leaps while the hound makes 4. So the fox makes 5 leaps when the hound makes 4. Well, let me write this down then. So I gotta be careful here, right? The fox makes 5, and this is a rate problem for me. Over x. I'm treating up a proportion, by the way. And then it goes on to say the hound makes 4, and I'm making a proportion. All right, so 5 over x equals 4 over y. They're giving me a relationship here, right? So I guess I got to make that a little bit simpler. So I'm going to write down 5y is equal to 4x. All right, what I'm going to do is look back over my work, and I want to point out this stuff's neatly typed up for you. So, but I'm talking through it. So you must say, why do you talk through it? For those students that need to talk through. So they talk about the letter F. What's F? It's the leap distance for a fox. It could be feet, could be yards, meters, centimeters, whatever. H is the leap distance for the hound. I'm using letters that make sense to me. It says X is the number of leaps the fox makes. I wrote that down. And Y is the number of leaps the hound makes. And let's see if I wrote the relationships, what they said. And did I write this relationship down? 77F plus FX equals HY, yep. Did I write this relationship down? Let's see, 5H equals 9F, yep. Did I write this relationship down? 5Y equals 4X, yep. I'm good to go. Now someone says, what do you mean good to go? I'm good to try to answer the question now. This is all getting erased here. I understand what I've written down. I understand how I got these things, and I understand what my letters mean. But now comes my trouble. I need to find out what X and Y is. And why is that? That was their question. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to look at this equation here, and I'm going to solve it for Y. By the way, this could be very difficult to do. Don't be discouraged if you take a wrong path. So I'm going to say Y equals 4/5 of an X. If I do this one over here, what would I get? Well, I'm looking at it. A variety of things I could do, but I'm going to solve for H. H equals 9/5 of an F. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to work this in the top equation. And it's tough. I'm not saying it's going to be easy for you, but I'm starting to realize that on the left side there are F's. So it would be nice if I could get this in terms of F and X as well. And I want to give it a try. So I'm not saying I'm going to be successful at it. 77F plus F times X. And do I know what H is in terms of F's and X? Well, I know it is in terms of F's. It's 9/5 of an F. Right, it's right over here. Do I know what Y is in terms of F or X's? And I do. It's 4/5 of an X. Right, now someone says, why would you want to do that? I'm not interested in F. So I'm going to divide both sides by F. I hope you understand that F cannot be 0. And why is that? It's a leap for the fox. He's moving. All right? So what do you get over here? 77 plus X equals, and this is going to be, I have to be careful, I'm dividing by F, and you're going to get 36 over 25X. I'm going to make some attempt to solve this thing, 77. I'm going to take X from both sides, like 25/25. And what would that give you? 11 over 25X. I'm going to multiply both sides by 25/11s. I'll write that down for you. And again, I'm no longer thinking, by the way. And this would give me 11 goes 11 once, goes into 77 7 times. And 7 times 25 is 175. So X. All right, again, this cancels and that cancels. Oh, I know what X is. Question is going to figure out what Y. And, it really isn't that bad. I'm kind of looking back at this, and I got it over here. So let me write this down here. What's Y going to be equal to? 4/5 times 175. That's what X is. And what does that give you? Let's see. 4 times 175 is 700, and 700 divided by 5 is 140. All right, so let's make sure you understand that it's really important you write things down. And we pretty much done everything we need to do. But what was the question again? How many leaps does each make before the hound catches the fox? So I'm going to say, what was Y again? I got to read it. Y, so the hound makes 140 leaps. And the fox made 175 leaps. Now, by the way, I realize that some people might want to say that you want to add on the original leaps to that, but we're talking about, after the hound started the pursuit, all right? Because the fox was ahead at that point. So this is the answer, all right? Thank you so much for paying attention. I appreciate it.